Do all of you know about the new transcription option in a Teams meeting? It's not available yet, but soon all meetings you can start transcription. You can see it right there on my screen, and it will actually basically takes your meeting notes for you, records the whole thing with a transcript to go along with it as well. So it would be like Kevin's talking right now, and it would say what I'm saying on the text. So that might be pretty cool. Maybe not so much for class meetings, but individual meetings and stuff like that. Not to try and put minutes takers out of a job, but just another option for that. So let's see here. It is 12:05, so we're gonna get this party started. EdTech Dialect, getting to know OneNote. Gonna spend the next 45 minutes to an hour, or however long it takes me to get through all the material I've compiled for all of you. And hoping that you can gain a greater understanding for OneNote, increase your digital organization. That's right, digital organization. I can't make any promises though as far as your organization goes. I'm just going to try to provide you, with some things that can help you with that. Learning a few ways to better collaborate and share. So working with others and making sure that others have access to what you're working on and vice versa. And hopefully, as always, picking up some new tricks of the trade. For those of you that have access to this, all of you should. I'll make sure that I share this link here in the chat like I normally do. But just a reminder, like I do every time, that Genially is something that I created, or is a program that I created that objectives item on, and it makes it very interactive. You can see that I added these different hotspots on here. So if I wanted to learn more about gain a greater understanding for OneNote, what's that all about? I click on this plus sign and it will actually take me to a YouTube video that gives me more information on getting a greater understanding for OneNote. So you don't just have to take it from me. You can learn from additional supplemental resources that I've embedded in the objectives as well. This image was created in Canva. So for those of you that put Canva to use, it's very easy to create images for free. Download them, bring them over to Genially, throw those hotspots on there, and just like that, we have an interactive objective item that we can throw right into our weekly rundown. So there's my shameless plug for that once again. But we're here to talk about OneNote. So let's start talking about OneNote. I got a PowerPoint for that, so just to kind of guide me as I go. Here's the non-interactive version of the objectives, but we already went over those. So what is OneNote? OneNote's a place for you to gather your thoughts, agendas, notes, and then make them even better, by organizing them into notebooks that you can divide into sections and pages. That's a whole lot right there. Basically, I always put it this way. OneNote is a digital trapper keeper. For those of you that had a trapper keeper back in the day, or maybe your kids had trapper keepers, you know what I'm talking about. It's the 2021 version of the trapper keeper. So let's dive in more. So where can you find OneNote? Well, this is the true beauty of OneNote. So if you gain nothing else from this, understand that OneNote is literally everywhere. It's a Windows app, and actually there's two Windows apps, and I'll help you to differentiate between the two here in a second. So there's two Windows apps. There's a Mac or Apple computer app. There's an Office 365 offering of it. There's an iOS app. There's an Android app. You can get to it in Teams with the channel add-in. And there's also a classroom notebook that we'll touch on briefly at the end. So literally wherever you go, you should be able to get to all of your different OneNotes or digital trapper keepers. So why use it? Okay, well, I'm gonna tell you why I use it. I use it for organization, okay? I use it for the different groups that I'm a part of, from the OEC to the department that I'm in, to the different things that I do as an individual on a day-to-day basis to keep track of those things. The nice thing about OneNote is it's not just text. I can easily pull in images, videos, links. I can share those. I can ink over those things. So if I throw an image on there, I can draw a little mustache if it's a picture of me. Not that we would do that, but there's a lot of different ways that we can put and bring in different things into the OneNote, and I'm going to be showing you those things as well. There's also some added features like accessibility features like the immersive reader. You can add tags or to-do lists, and you can search those tags. You can easily add notes through the note feed across multiple different devices. You can do voice to text dictation. You can also do ink to text. You can create math problems just by writing them out with your inking device. And you can also take that math problem and then it'll turn it into an actual typed out formula. And it'll take it one step further if you're a math teacher, or if you just want to do some math problems, and it'll actually make a quiz that you can place in the OneNote, or you can share wherever, a practice quiz using Microsoft Forms. So it's pretty wild what OneNote can do. So if I'm gonna hop away from this for a real quick second, because I want to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to start with the Office 365 version. You can find that Office 365 version right here from the My Apps sign-in area. But I already have the tab open, and I'll just show you what you're dealing with here. So some basics about OneNote. First of all, like I said, this is a web version. The nice thing about OneNote is it looks exactly or almost identical across the different platforms. Much like you see with Word and PowerPoint and Excel, there's a toolbar across the top. We call this a ribbon if you want to be precise. And there's different drop downs from the different items along the ribbon. So if we start the home screen, you can see your basics, cut, copy, paste, font type, things like that. There's also, I mentioned text to speak dictation, and it's right here. So you can literally like say what you want it to put in there and in multiple different languages, and it will take care of that for you. I told you there was a feed. I'm going to return to this with more detail here in a second. But this feed right here allows you to quickly and easily add, let me move this out of the way, add notes, okay? So I have this right now, this feed is showing like everything that I've recently added to my OneNote. But if I wanted to filter this and just have sticky notes available, like I can add these different working notes that tell me and guide me. So if you're someone that puts sticky notes on your monitor, on your desktop, you can do this right here in OneNote. You can get digital with your sticky notes. And the cool thing about this is if I back on over to like Outlook, for example, here's Outlook, and I shared this board with you last week. But if I go to the actual like mail area, I can actually add a note right from here. So you see this little OneNote thing right here? Check that out. There's my note feed right there. So if I'm working in my OneNote, I can come on over here, and those notes that I just showed you, sticky notes, look at that. They're right here. So a very easy way for you to, if you wanted to, hey, how do I get started using OneNote? This is a great way for you to get started in OneNote, is just using the note feed right here. But on a greater scale, how does OneNote work? Well, OneNote is a collection of notebooks. Makes sense, right? So right now I have what's called my EdTech Dialect notebook open. That's pretty fitting. But if I go here, you're going to see I have a lot of different notebooks. All right. One of the notebooks that I use frequently is like my staff training. I keep a lot of items in there related to trainings and different EdTech software and things like that I'm working on. And within this notebook, I have different sections. Okay. Those sections are like my folders within that Trapper Keeper. And within those folders, I have different pages. Okay, so you can see all these different pages that I have. Now, the best use case scenario that I have for you that kind of applies to everybody in this session is conferences or meetings. Okay, so whenever I go to a conference, you can see that I have a section in here. And I have a call coming in 1 second. All right, I have a section here for conferences. And for each conference that I attend, I create a page, okay? Now, to take sections and pages just a little bit further, we can also create collections of sections, all right? So if I were to right-click on this, I can create a section, okay? And what that does is it allows me to create kind of like more, like if I had multiple different types of conferences, if I wanted to get more into the organization that way. So EdTech conferences, leadership conferences, things like that. But I don't get into that. That's something that you can use. I just want you to know that it's available. You can also see that there are different pages and sub pages. Okay, so you see InstructureCon 19 is the title page, but within here I have the different sessions that I attended for that particular conference, which is pretty cool. Okay, so yeah, we have a title. We see when it was created. You can see that I can then add text wherever I want. I kind of tend to be more straightforward, but if I wanted to, like, hey, I want to throw a note over here, I can go ahead and say, you know, this session was great. Just add a little footnote for myself. And I can literally take this text and move it wherever I want to move it within the window. Okay, so that's kind of the basic of it. And on the app version, which I'll show you in a second, I can actually collapse because I've made these pages part of this page. I can actually collapse these so that I don't have as much to sort through. Okay, so let me back out of this quick. I want to go on back to my PowerPoint. And, well, that's not really the end of my show. Let's see here. I'm kind of mixed up. There we go. So when should you use it? Okay, so I already mentioned, you know, for conferences, that's on there. It's towards the bottom of the list. But, you know, we use it for committees. I told you that it's available within Teams. It's really cool because you can actually take your OneNote and make it part of a Teams channel tab. So let me see here. If I go to one of my teams here, and if I go, I'm just going to use our online education committee. And you can see up here as one of our channel tabs, we have the Canvas core committee. And I can access this notebook right here within Teams, which is super helpful because we'll add things like our meeting minutes. So if we go down here to meetings, we'll go to a different section within the notebook. And from here, once it goes there, you can see all of our different meeting minutes that we store right within here. And if I go ahead and make this a little larger, you can see it a little better, but you can see that everybody in the team can easily access all of our meeting notes and you know, other things that we have included here within our OneNote. So it makes it very easy for not only us to create some sort of an organized digital notebook, but also to collaborate with others as well, because the best thing about this is other people can add to this as well. So if I've shared this with others here in the note or in the team, you know, others can come in here and add some notes if they needed to. Maybe they have something they want to add to the agenda. They can add to this from here. I can get to this notebook just as easily from the OneNote app. Just got to go to the Canvas Core Committee notebook. You can see it's right here at the top, and I can get to it outside of Teams within the OneNote app as well. So like I said, incredibly versatile. You know, if you forget your laptop at home, no worries. You just hop online, sign into your account, and you can get to your OneNote very easily. All right, let me pop back to the PowerPoint. So we talked about committees. You can also use it within your department's IT team here. We've had a OneNote all along where we keep important information, job descriptions, things that we're working on, tasks and stuff like that. And it's also linked within our team as well. I mentioned if you're having meetings, you can keep meeting minutes in there. You know, you can use it in your classrooms. There's the OneNote classroom version where it'll actually give each student in your class their different area within the OneNote that only they and you as the instructor can see. So like if you can require them to take their notes in OneNote, it also is integrated in Canvas. So you can get to it right from Canvas. You don't have to go to the app itself. I mentioned conferences. I use it for personal organization as well. So like really like you're probably thinking some ideas that you can put OneNote to use also, but I would advise you just to start simple. You know, take something, use the substitution method with it. Take something that you might normally print out, maybe an email, maybe you print emails. The cool thing about OneNote too, speaking about emails, let me see if I can get to my email here. There it is. Check this out. So if you had an email, so maybe I wanted to take, you know, this email right here. Oh, this is an interesting piece of information. You can actually send it right to your OneNote with a click of a button right here, and you can choose which notebook. So maybe I want to send it to that staff training, and hey, this is a little bit about Microsoft Teams and active learning. I could send this exact email in its entirety with a click of a button, or actually a couple clicks, right to my OneNote for me to dig into a little later. Okay, so lots of different applications of OneNote, lots of different ways that you can put it to use. And honestly, it can be a little mind-boggling just because there are so many ways, but that's why I say start simple with it, okay? Just use it to start getting your life in order, build some notebooks, then build some sections within that notebook, and then you'll start building pages, and pretty soon you'll be like, how did I live without it? The best part about this too is it's on your mobile device as well. So let's say you're attending that conference and the presenter is going really quick through the slides and you just can't type things into your OneNote fast enough. You just open up that camera with the app on and you take a picture of the slide and you put that slide right into your OneNote. And then you can always follow back and you can ink on those slides. And I'll show you what that looks like here in a second as well. So give me one moment because I'm going to switch the screen that I'm sharing on this device, or on the device, to a different device, I should say. Rip the keyboard off this Surface Pro. And I think I must have left the meeting, so bear with me. Does anybody have any questions while I get this going? No questions. That's cool. It means you're either thoroughly confused or I've answered everything so far. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Let me just wait for that to pop up. There you go. You see my screen now. All right, so I'm on a Windows device now, which most of you are using. And the beauty of OneNote is it truly does work best on a Windows device. If you really want to get the full experience, make sure you have an inking device like a Surface Pro. Although OneNote works really well with an iPad and an Apple Pencil. So like I mentioned from the start, there are two different apps. You see at the bottom of my taskbar, there's two different OneNote apps. There's one that comes with Office 365 and there's one that comes with Windows. Now, I think I'm telling you this right, but I think that, let's see, I don't want this one right here. I want, when I type in OneNote into the search bar, wrong one. Come on, work for me. I want to use the Office, or excuse me, I want to use the Windows version of OneNote. And so when you search on your search bar, it will say OneNote for Windows 10. Okay, and it's not this one right here. It doesn't have the stuff, the tabs across the top there. So I'm actually going to close this one out. Now you can use this. You can access all of your different notebooks in there. It's just that the one for Windows works the best and looks the most similar to the other ones. Okay, so here it is right here. A lot of the same buttons that you're used to seeing. You can see my notebook is ready to roll. If you want to create a new notebook, that's very easy to do. You just go to your notebooks area and you notice down at the bottom of the left-hand corner of the screen, you see add notebook. When I do an add notebook, that notebook will then be available in 365 on the web, on my mobile device, every instance of the application. Okay, so we're just going to stick to the EdTech Dialect notebook. And from here, we can start getting into things. Now, you can see the agenda that I have here. I already talked to you about sections and pages and subpages and section groups and things like that. And you can see that I have check boxes next to each one. So one added value feature of OneNote is your ability to add, and if I go to my home tab here, over at the top, you see that checkbox up at the top? Those are tags. When you add tags to items in OneNote, it makes those things searchable. So like you can go and search for anything across all of your different notebooks. So if I click on the down arrow for the tag there in the upper middle of the screen, you can see that there's several different types of tags that I can add. The one that I use most frequently is the to-do tag. Okay, so that allows me, so like, hey, as I'm going through this, I can go back through here and I can actually check those boxes. Let's zoom in a little bit. That'll help me actually hit the right box. And I can complete these different items right here that I've already covered. Okay, these might be meeting minutes and things that you had to follow up on. All right, maybe it's just a to-do, or maybe get out of there. We want to go a little bit further and say, well, hey, this one right here is extremely important to share notebook. So we're going to add an important tag on it. Okay, and just like that, we have added a tag to these different things. Okay, or maybe I want to, hey, Kevin, you need to remember this for later. Look at that, it's going to highlight it for me. Okay, while it looks like simple highlighting at face value, when you go to the upper left-hand corner of that screen, you see that magnifying glass right there? we can actually search out all these tags. So maybe you're somebody like, hey, Kevin, what are all your to-do items that you haven't done yet? You can search by tag, okay? You can search by all of the notebooks that you have. So like, that's a lot of them, okay? I got a lot of things to do. I shouldn't be doing this session right now. I should actually be working on things. But we can go back through and go to like the current notebook, previous notebook thing, and even different pages and sections. Check that out right there that I can search through, okay? So if I do like the whole notebook, it's just gonna show my to-do items. And check it out too as I scroll down. It's gonna show me things that are both complete and not completed yet, which can be pretty helpful, all right? So I mentioned tags. Tags are great, but if you look at the top of that search window, you're gonna see that tags is highlighted, but to the left of that, there's also pages. So in addition to searching like actual tags, my computer froze for just 1 second, I can actually go and search items within pages. So I'm not looking for a tag. I'm just looking maybe for like a specific word. Like, you know, I see one. Where was I talking about? Notebook. Well, there you go. Okay. And that's just this one instance where it will actually show, you know, one thing that I typed in there. If I want to back this up and like actually look through, you know, just a specific section or something like that, I could do that as well. So the search features, both for tags and keywords, are really high level as far as OneNote goes. And we've all had those times where you're like searching through a physical notebook or searching across your desk, trying to find a document or something like that. If you add these items to OneNote, they're going to be a lot easier to find. Speaking of documents, you can actually drag and drop your Word files, PowerPoint files, PDFs, things like that right into your OneNote, okay? You can choose then if you want them to show up as just an icon like you'd see on like your computer's desktop for that file, or actually display the file in its entirety. I'm not going to do that right now, but if you just drag and drop it into a page like you see on the screen right now, it will actually display that document. So that's another kind of cool feature right there. Let's see here, checking some boxes, moving on through. So I talked about images as well. Let me get out of this searching here. We're going to pop back to resources and examples. So you can see that, oops, I'm getting ahead of myself here. You can see that I actually added an image here. And it's literally just a matter of dragging and dropping an image, okay? This is all that you see right here is an image. Now, if you look on the video right here, I have a pin in my hand, my Surface Pro pen. And if I get that pin close, when I'm in the drawing area, actually, hold on a second, my computer, this Surface, for some reason, I don't know if I need to do an update or not, but you'll see it flash black here on the screen. There you go. And now it's going to tell me that it's working. But if I get, still frozen. This technology is holding me back, people. I'm telling you. From time to time, I get some hiccups too. You're not alone. There we go. So hopefully it'll work now. It's going to let me go to the drawing area. Come on, computer. It's always when I try and ink on it too. And I know. The physical whiteboard in your classroom doesn't treat you like this, okay? But you do have Exmo markers that die all the time. So there's pluses and minuses literally to everything. So if we see this image here, I can actually go to this inking area and I can like start like inking right over different images and pointing out different things and highlighting different things. And so I can freely ink all over this thing. And I can pinch this, and over here I can do some notes. And I'm like, make sure, doing it with a highlighter. I didn't want to do it with a highlighter. Well, I'm going to flip my stylus over. I'm just going to erase it quick because I got that eraser on the back. And I'm going to get super fancy here because I'm going to choose a different type of inking. And I'm going to ink like this Cosmo Galaxy thing. And I'm going to be like, focus on this. All right. And I can start adding all sorts of different really cool stuff here. But if I don't like my handwriting, the students are like, or whoever needs to read this, like, I can't read that. I can always ink to text in this as well. So if I just select this like that, there's an ink to text button like right above. Look at that, right where I just selected, right up and to the left a little bit, ink to text. And it will take that and it will turn it into text for me. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then I can take that box there, and I can actually, it'll let me, it's clicked on it right now, but it will actually let me move it. There we go. See, I can move it all over the place. Wow, fancy. And so if I needed to change that, if I needed to adjust the font, I can actually, well, it's selected right now. Maybe it'll let me do that. There we go. I don't want it to be 83 font. I'm trying to do this without my attached keyboard or mouse, but I'm guessing it's gonna try and freeze on me quick. There we go. And I can knock that font down to 12. Check that out right there. So we can easily adjust and change that font around. Okay, so the ink to text is pretty cool. I mentioned that right up here. Oops, let me change that. Right up here, you see where it says dictate? Like we can actually just like talk to OneNote and it will type out exactly what we are saying. So if you're somebody that doesn't feel like typing everything out, that is available too for you within OneNote. So I talked to you a little bit about inking. Another cool way to ink, as I mentioned, is if I go to my conferences. Where did my conferences section go? And see how easy it is for us to jump around. I mentioned this right here. So like this is a session at a conference I was at, and I just take pictures of the slides because I learned like, hey, I'm not going to be able to write everything down, and this gives me kind of a better understanding of what it is I'm talking about. But if I use this at conferences, imagine your students putting this to use like during a class. If you're like showing something, they can quickly snap a picture of your notes, and then on the side, they can type out what they're saying, or they can be like, they can go to the drawing area. And of course, here I am trying to ink again, and it's going to freeze on me briefly. But they can be like, she said to pay attention to this, or he said I need to reference this right here. And actually, I want to add a little bit of a note there. So I just go over here, and now I can actually type something, So they can do pretty much whatever they need to do. And they can do shared notes too. Like they could go up here to the share up in the upper right-hand corner. I'll draw a little arrow to it. You see it up there. And if I hit share, I can share this notebook with anybody that I wanted to share it with, okay? I can also link to specific pages. So like, here's this conferences InstructureCon 18 session 1 page that I have here. Well, let's say that in another spot where I'm working on like a committee or something, I'm like, hey, people in the committee, I think that you need to check out this resource that I have in this section, okay? So hopefully it'll let me do it because I don't have the mouse attached to this. Maybe if I attach the keyboard real quick, it will. But I can actually, if I can get to the menu, there we go. If I can get to the menu here, I can actually copy a link to the page, just like that. And I can cruise over to another notebook. How about this EdTech Dialect thing we're talking about? And I can paste that link right there to that notebook. So I can take it to like any other committee's notebook or any other thing that I'm working on notebook, and like anybody will then have access to that resource. So we're like thinking about like, handbooks for departments or employees or resources for a class. Like you could build a textbook in OneNote. You really could. And then you could easily link these things. Just know that if you do link a particular page, that you are giving access to the entire notebook to that person. So that's important to remember as well. So sharing, like I said, it's super easy. You can just share a link to a page. You can share an entire notebook. And you can also easily, like I said, bring it into Teams to share it as a channel tab. So like so many different uses. I don't expect you all to like internalize and remember all of these things right here, but if there's something in particular, like, hey, Kevin, can we follow up on this for my class? Or can we follow up on this for my department? I am happy to sit down and help you with that as well. Going back to the feed, I mentioned easily adding some notes. So like if you are in your Outlook, you can add one of those notes. But if you're also in your OneNote, there's that feed that you can open up, and it's going to first reference like anything that I recently did to OneNote or updated in my OneNote. So it's almost like a history too, like where the heck was I just working? And you can see it will bring up, all of those different pages that I was just working on, and I can quickly go to, by clicking on it, that page. Oh yeah, video. So this is great too. So if you want to add a YouTube video to a page, you just copy the link to the YouTube video, and check this out. We can play the video right here within OneNote. So when we're talking about putting resources or things like that, they'll actually play right from here. All right. Same goes with like if you have Microsoft Stream things. I guess you can, there's even a Pinterest integration. So if you want to share something from Pinterest, it'll share directly here within the OneNote. The same thing is for Canva. If you're a Canva, not Canvas, Canva, the image producer, you can actually embed those images right here in addition to that. But I talked to you about the feed and the ability for you to put those quick notes. If I filter this to only sticky notes, that brings those different notes up here. And if I want to add a note, like for example, Elizabeth, you have your mic on. Can you remind me what I needed to follow up on?
I can't. Oh, it was to send them the email to the students to allow them to put their the classes on their calendar.
Ah, yes. Follow up on the email about adding a Teams channel, spelled something wrong, meeting to a student calendar. Elizabeth, now I can't run from it. Send to Dr. Klooster.
I already sent the email.
That's okay. That's okay. But this is just a good way for me to show you this, because now if I don't actually think I have it open. I might have to sign in. It might take me a little bit. But if I go to my apps area and come on, load. There we go. Don't make me sign in. Don't make me sign in. And if it'll take me to my Outlook eventually. I might just have to circle. Oh, just when I think I'm gonna have to circle back on it, it's gonna go ahead and load, or at least tease me into thinking it's gonna work. There we go. Try and find the maze of, or find Outlook in the maze of apps here. There it is. And while I'm waiting for that to load, I'm actually gonna just pop back because I want to show you another sweet feature here. So for those of you that are in math or deal with any sort of fractions or equations, there's actually ink to math as well. So you can see I already wrote out some formulas here, and the handwriting's not bad. It's kind of fancy. I use the fancy little Galaxy inking, which really kind of tunes things up as well, makes it kind of fun. But I can take these formulas that I put in here, and if I select them, so I'm gonna go here up in the upper left to that lasso. You see that little dotted circle with a plus on it? My computer's gonna flash here. There we go. And then hopefully it'll work. Okay, so if I click on that lasso, I can actually highlight this equation here, boom. And you can see now ink to math is now available up in the upper right. If I tap on that, check that out. It will actually, if I choose ink to math, it will put the formula, as we can see it here, instead of my sloppy handwriting, it'll actually take it and put it in there like that. So I don't have to worry about finding the keys to type out more complex problems. It will actually do that for me. I can also, if I'm a student, find more actions as well. It will actually solve these things for me. OneNote's pretty smart. And I can go even further. I can view the steps, the solution steps. There we go. So I can learn math in OneNote just by throwing some problems out there. If I want to quiz myself, or if I'm the instructor, I can generate a practice quiz as well. Check this out. Using the integration with Microsoft Forms, it will generate a quiz. 3 is not enough. We should have 5 questions, and I can generate that quiz and it will embed it right into that page there. Come on, show up. Don't let me down. See, it's trying. It needs to try harder because it's not showing up yet. But eventually, it will actually show up right here on this page. And of course, it would let me down right now. Why does it have to do that to me? But you can see here's an example of one I did yesterday. We'll see if we can get this one to load. My handwriting improved. You can see, actually I was using a mouse yesterday. I wasn't using a stylus. But check this out. Like we actually have like multiple choice problems on a form right here within OneNote using this integration. Now I know that most of you on here don't teach math and won't be using this, but I just wanted to show you how cool OneNote is. So yeah, if I back out to my examples again, there's one more thing I want to show you now. I know I already showed you this, but like I could literally like sit here on this tablet and take notes this entire class. And you can see that I totally made these notes up. So if you're reading these things like, what in the heck, who is he listening to getting this information? Like as I was prepping for this, I just scribbled out my own notes. So this is a made up story. This isn't actually from a history class. But I can actually like, hey, the person that I'm working on these shared notes with complains about my handwriting. I can actually ink to text this. So if I, once again, select, come on, OneNote, let me select this without having to wait for you to, there we go. So if I just highlight all this, just like that, and go up here, upper right to ink to text, it's gonna take that, look at that. My notes are now legible, okay? And the only thing it did was, and I think I'm responsible because when I selected it, I kind of cut out the bullet point that was right there. But I can now take these notes and I could add to it. In Florida, well, that's not true. They actually settled in Eastern Florida. Okay, and I'm like, well, that handwriting's kind of big. You know, I want to take this and trim it down a little bit. We'll do a nice 10-point font. And who was writing in green? I want this to be black, so I could change that as well. Okay, I know that nothing was selected there, so it didn't change. But you can see how easy it is. You can actually, if you're using a tablet or an iPad or something like this, and you want to write your notes out and then change them and make them more digital, you can easily do that and take that with you. We've gone for like 35 minutes already. I've covered a ton of different things. Just a couple added value items that I want to throw your way to make sure that you know that they exist. Let's see here. Let me zoom in for you. Check this out. I can pinch and zoom and make this larger. We can focus on the added value items. I told you about the OneNote feed. Ooh, let me circle back to my Outlook. And up here, upper right, that OneNote area. Let's see if that note shows up. Oops, I was a little too quick on my clicking there. But my note to self to follow up, I see Elizabeth, you did send me the email. Thank you. It's taking a little bit to load my notes, but once those notes show up, the sticky note for Elizabeth, for my reminder to help out Elizabeth, should be there as soon as it loads, and I'm at the mercy of it loading. And of course, like I promise you, it's never taken this long to load. And of course it would take this long to load when I'm showing you something that I think is cool. So there it is. If I just go ahead and filter this, we should eventually get Elizabeth's sticky note to show up. It might have to sync more on the back side, but eventually those sticky notes should show up. It's running slow. It's being a little stubborn right now. But eventually that note will show up in there, I promise. Let's see here. What are some other added value items that I wanted to make sure that I cover with you? Okay, I mentioned the immersive reader. For those of you that have used the immersive reader before, very helpful. Let's see, where in the heck is it? There it is right there. So any page that we have in OneNote, we can bring it on over to the immersive reader. So like I said, if you're using this for resources for your students or for any line of work that you have, you can load it in the immersive reader and have it read to you, or have the student, or the students can have it read to them using the immersive reader. Okay, and I just hit play and boom, it will automatically start reading everything that I have on that particular OneNote page. So very, very helpful from an accessibility standpoint. I think I've showed you enough as far as from this surface. So I'm just gonna bump this back to my other device. So let me just quit sharing quickly on here and pop on over to my Mac. There we go. And I mentioned that there's also a classroom notebook. So in Canvas, you can actually enable a classroom notebook, and it will build a notebook for your class. So, you know, you can go through and name the notebook, pull in students. And if I go to, let's see here, I think it was this right here. Check this out. If I refresh this, so I actually created a classroom notebook for this class. So this is as a student looking at this, and they're like, okay, we got to sign in here quick. And it's going to actually give me the option to view the notebook online or actually in the app. But as a student, I have this notebook available to us. Check it out. It looks exactly like OneNote. But I also have my own little student area. So I can like take all my notes right here. So like here is week 1 notes. Okay, and I can start adding images and text and all sorts. I can do the inking, and I can build pages for my notes. The cool thing is, as the instructor, you can pop in and see all of your different students' notes. So if I go back to my Chrome browser, which is the instructor view, and go to the class notebook, I can actually hop in here and view. Where is my notebook? There we go. And I can actually see the notebook right from here. So if I go to open notebook, it should then give me, as the students enter it, look at that. So Maryland student is my test user, and that's the only student that has actually gone to the notebook yet. But as different students go and actually access the notebook, it creates their own little section. As the instructor, I can then see, look at this, Maryland just created that week 1, and I can actually see their notes. I can actually put homework in their folder as well. So if I want to give them math problems or a worksheet or something like that, I can drop them right in this area. And Marilyn and myself are the only ones that can see that section. If there's another test student right here, I could then see that student. Marilyn obviously couldn't see that student. I can place things for collaboration, so activities and assignments in here. And then if I pop back to the student view, the whole class, so I'm viewing this as Marilyn now. If I were to place something in this section, the whole class can see these different items. So another way for you to deliver and organize content, if you want to do that, if you're running a Canvas course, even if it's not like an actual course, an MCC course, but maybe like a student club or gathering area, you could use it for that as well. So I think that's pretty much like everything that I have to throw at you as far as OneNote. There's plenty more that we can really do a deeper dive, but that was just like a big, what do they call it? The 360 worldview of OneNote from a lot of different devices. We do have several different individuals that are using OneNote already. Katie Johnson's putting it to use for her math classes. Dr. Young, our president, is using OneNote as well to bring organization and collaboration and sharing to her role. It's really it's an application that we haven't used enough here at MCC because we've been focused on things like Canvas for content delivery and Teams for having virtual meetings during a pandemic, and rightfully so. But now it's time to get back to all these different added value things that can work well with Teams and work well with Canvas and work well with our organization and our lives. So I'm done talking. If you have questions, now is a great time to throw them my way. And it's okay if you don't. Your head's spinning or you know it all, whatever the case.
I've got one. Kevin, when I log into my OneNote, it tells me that the notebook has been started on another computer and hasn't been synced. Should I just go out and re-log in?
So let me see here. Let me share my screen quick. So yeah, sometimes it's kind of funky like that. So I've had that before. Like in the upper right-hand corner, does your cloud have a check on it?
Oh, let me see.
Because that's a dead giveaway that it has actually synced. Sometimes it might actually have an X on it as well, and then you got to just click on it. So if it doesn't, you might need to sign in to a different device, or you might be signed in with a different account, and that'll get you. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but yeah, if you check the sync status, that's the first step. But that's a great question. So like, obviously, when you're doing these things, you want them to sync across all your different devices. Like that's the whole point of it, right? So like, if you wanted to add a note on your mobile device, but I have had it where a connection is bad or for some reason it just won't sync. But yeah, definitely bring those to the service desk or myself, and we'll try and work you through it, because I've had quite a bit of experience with those issues.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Another thing I should add is with those quick notes, if you're a Mac user, the quick note feed is not available on the Mac version of the app. So heads up with that. Any other questions? All right. So as always, I appreciate all of you attending today. The recording will be available for others to see, and yourself if you want to move in on things or rehash on things. But as always, if you want to dig in further, I'm happy to set up another session with you, and we can work on how you can use OneNote in your environment. So thanks for attending today. I look forward to working with all of you. Have a lovely Wednesday.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.